Welcome everybody to Town Hall number 78, where we are going to be passing the baton between our amazing team members to share what it's like and how we go about working in a disconnected geography, how we use our remote working skills, especially now as this pandemic has taken over and the whole world is quarantining. People are losing their jobs, people are working from home when they can, and the whole new normal of being a remote distributed business across all sectors is starting to take hold. Education, of course, if you've got kids and they're at home like I have, getting used to working remotely for them is a big thing. So we're going to cover off a number of things, some of the best practices we've learned over the years for doing this for many, many years, working as a remote team. We're going to look at some of the tools internally and external communication tools that we use. We'll go through the dealing with distraction, context switching, and also just chat generally about distractions at home, how to cope with them, not just distractions with children asking questions while you're working, but also work distracting you from being with your family, and how do you deal with that too, because it's important to have time away where you turn off the phone, turn off everything, and give your family and friends the attention that they need as well, especially now. And staying sane, how do you do that when you're cooped up inside? What are some of the tips and tricks maybe that you've been doing with your own coping through this process? So I'm going to hand over to our amazing team who will be taking us through the Town Hall number 78, best practices for virtual teams. And who's up first? Diana, Carter, or Jenj?
It's me, Diana.
Diana, great. Well, I've stopped sharing and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Everything went okay? Can you see my screen, the presentation? This probably?
Yes, thumbs up.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So, hi everyone. We thought it could be helpful to share what we have learned about working from home as a team and as individuals. In this presentation, we will talk about our processes, share tips on tools, and discuss why we chose those tools. And after that, we would also like to start a discussion around dealing with distraction, context switching, and mental health. Here you can see an overview of the topics we planned for today. First, we will talk about communication tools, then about how we developed our workflow on our documentation, which is a good example for an open source success code approach done remotely. Then we delve into remote UX work, how some parts of the UX process that are often done in person, like a workshop, can be arranged online. Then we'll talk about collaborating, presenting, and getting feedback on design in a remote setting. So the first topic we'd address is communication in general. Well, platformOS has been a distributed, fully remote company from the start. We have team members all over the globe, US, Australia, Poland, Hungary, Romania, and other countries. Similarly, we have partners from all over the world too. Everyone is working remotely most of the time, except when we meet for our annual team conference. This distribution in space also comes with the fact that groups of people working together are in different time zones. So we had to develop processes and use tools that are a good fit for this arrangement. Let's start with a look into our communication, both internal and external. For the situation I described, for example, being scattered across different time zones, we found that asynchronous communication is the way to go, or more precisely, asynchronous most of the time and real-time communication if required. Asynchronous communication means that when you send a message, you don't expect an immediate response. We use Slack for that and Zoom for real-time video conversations. You will see, though, that solving the issue of being in different time zones is not the only benefit of asynchronous communication. In fact, there are many more that far outweigh this benefit. This approach reduces the number of meetings, which is a big difference compared to many organizations working from an office. This way of communication also requires a bit more planning and preparation. Before a meeting, we prepare an agenda, preferably a suggestion or already a draft that we can start the discussion on. And when we communicate in chat, we strive to write clearly and present our ideas or points for discussion as precisely as possible. In written communication on Slack, it's very important to put the message in the right place. So you need to come up with a list of different channels for groups, for example, engineers, or for topics, for example, documentation. Similarly to how we communicate among team members, we use asynchronous and real-time communication tools to communicate with our partners. We even stretch real-time communication tools like a video conference to become somewhat asynchronous. For example, this town hall is recorded and you can comment on it on Slack. As you all know, we use Slack and Zoom, but we also use other means of communication, for example, the feedback block on our documentation topics, user research, GitHub comments, or the various updates like the status report that I will talk about more in a minute. So now that we have discussed that we communicate with each other and with you asynchronously most of the time, let's have an overview of the benefits. In an office setting, people can walk over to you and ask you something about a conversation, and you don't have much control over when they come. This can become a huge distraction when you're working on something that requires your attention and concentration for a longer period of time. With asynchronous communication, you can completely prevent this. You can choose to not open emails or mute your notifications or enable do not disturb mode. Your colleague's request will still be handled, but at a time that suits your schedule. As you probably,
Diana,
yeah?
Diana, what's happening over the weekend? Doing anything? See, that's my little joke. Imagine if we're in an office and I just came in and did that. What a complete distraction. Break the concentration. I just couldn't help myself, but see, I just wanted to punctuate the point for you.
Great demonstration, thank you. As you probably have experienced, getting interrupted when you're trying to work on something causes stress. So being able to work and respond to people in your own time reduces the stress. By removing the pressure to provide immediate answers, you can cultivate a thoughtful, rational response. You'll get less impulsive or emotional answers, and responses will be also more precise. When you're given time to provide a response, you'll feel confident it was the best answer you could give. For asynchronous communication to work, it needs to be clear, and this requirement alone improves the quality of communication in the team. Having everything written down and available for team members or partners to see and go back to if needed means that no one is left out. Written communication is also searchable, easy to share and reference, and can be recalled at any time, unlike with verbal conversations where you have to recall everything from memory. To work properly, this type of communication requires some discipline and the company culture that fosters it. Because if you feel like you have to immediately respond to your Slack message, then the communication became synchronous. Overall, we can say that asynchronous communication works so well because it allows people to work on their own terms.
We apologize while Zoom copes with all of the new subscribers that they have signing up. I was saying earlier to friends, buy shares in Zoom.
This is okay.
There it goes.
Well, Okay, I will talk about slide that you slide. This will be the mystery. This one is about project management, and there are some logos on it of GitHub and ClickUp, and the ClickUp screenshot. For
If you
project
like, I can
management,
share. I'll share my screen so you can talk to those
okay,
points.
thank you.
And if I can find my presentation, which was right about, oh, it's probably here. That's right, I already started. Page 8, was that right?
Yes.
There we go. Project management.
Yeah. Thank you. So project management for our documentation is a bit different from project management on our core development and client projects because our documentation is open source. For project management on our docs, we use GitHub issues and GitHub boards so that we can be fully transparent, and anyone can get involved in any phase, like opening a ticket, commenting, contributing, and so on. We manage our internal and external projects in ClickUp. It has process management, task and time management, lots of integrations, collaboration, reporting. I asked some of my colleagues what they like about it, and they said that it's clean, easy to use, and it assists their work nicely. For example, you can create spaces for projects, and then there is a me switch where you can list everything ordered by spaces for yourself. A project manager colleague said that although ClickUp is providing similar solutions as other tools on the market, such as Jira, it provides them in an enhanced and much simplified way. It provides default templates and solutions, while at the same time it allows us to customize almost everything. What's most important, he said, is that developers and partners are happy using it, and if they are happy, project managers are happy to use it too. Our next slide is documentation. Yes. Now let's get into how we structured our workflow on our documentation. As you probably know, we implemented a complete docs as code workflow on GitHub and included issue tracking and project management into it. The next slide is about our documentation workflow. Going through our documentation workflow demonstrates nicely how we use the different communication tools. We get internal, external feedback through Slack, the feedback block, user research, or directly through GitHub. All of these requests are considered tasks. We then create a ticket for the task on GitHub. Once the ticket is ready, it goes into the backlog and into our internal sprint planning, where we discuss priorities every Monday with our CEO, and the selected tickets are added for the next sprint. The sprint planning happens over Slack or Zoom, and the results, the actual plan for the sprint, is stored on a GitHub board. Then when the task is done, a developer and writer reviews the PR, and we approve and merge it. This all happens through Git. And now move on to the communication related to our documentation. Let's have an overview of the channels we use. We get a lot of feedback through Slack, but also through our feedback block. We also get PRs through GitHub from you, and you also comment on issues. Our status reports include weekly updates on documentation, UX design, and development, and are posted in Slack and sent as a newsletter. We also share information with you through regular release notes and our roadmap. And of course, we come to the town hall from time to time and give you updates on our documentation and other topics. And we also post articles from our documentation to our blog. And now I hand it over to, or rather Adam hands it over to Kata.
Great, Carter. Thank you, Diana. That was wonderful and good team effort there. This is how our remote team can just handle any situation when the connection's not quite right. There we go. It's all yours, Carter.
Thank you. So, hi everyone. Let me carry on with the remote UX work related practices. So, remote UX workshops could happen in online sessions in which everyone participates at the same time. Depending on the type of workshop you are running, you will have different goals and different kinds of UX deliverables to produce. Here we listed 3 complex tools that can work with most of the workshop types. Mural, Miro, and Figma. Figma can also handle these kind of workshops. So what should you do to schedule an online workshop first? First of all, send out a calendar invite for the participants. In your calendar invitation, you should include video conferencing information so people can see each other and communicate in real time during the workshop. And you will need a place to collect insights and observations like a whiteboard. One of the tool, what I mentioned before, Mural, Miro, or Figma. So here people can jot down their own contributions in real time or as close to real time as possible. All of these complex tools can handle the following things like visually organize large quantities of information, easy to modify, reposition and edit text, and create processes in it. Possible to run voting in all of those. Of course, you can quickly align and add rows and columns, and you can nest objects inside each other. So it helps you to, for example, create journey maps, and also offers templates that you can use or modify for your taste, which is really good because basically it a lot faster to produce UX workshop materials from these templates. And to speak a bit about the hard part of online workshops, so it's hard to get people engaged through a whole workshop, of course. It's easy to zone out during a phone conference with many people. So always use a camera to help everyone feel that they're part of the process. If a workshop is not fully immersive, minds may start wandering. And participants may start multitasking instead of contributing. So that's why it's supporting your process. Separate long workshops into smaller chunks. People don't have time to do long workshops or meetings, so it always helps if you have smaller meetings related to one big workshop. Keep in mind that new tools can be intimidating for people, and it can decrease participation. So always start with a warm-up exercise that isn't part of the workshop, but helps to show around the features in a funny way. Even if participants may be willing to contribute to the workshop itself, they may not want to spend the time to learn a whole new tool. So if you'd like to read a bit more about how we ran our workshop to create the documentation site, we added an article link at the end of our presentation where you can find it. Okay, so the user interview site created this great UX research tool map. I think one of you also posted it in Inner Stalker channel. This may help you get an idea of what kind of tools are out there for different purposes. We'd like to highlight some tools from this list related to scheduling, usability testing, interviewing, some specialized tests, and also for surveys and analytics based on our feature needs for the specific tasks. First, let's start with scheduling. So currently help you schedule meetings without the back and forth emails, and it automatically sends out event notifications, makes the whole process faster and more prompt, especially if you need to set up events between different time zones. So it could be a great help. We use remote usability testing to validate our IDs. In these testing tools, we used the prototypes which were created with Figma. We use both moderated and unmoderated tests, and I previously introduced look back and playbook, as you can see it on the slide. I think we introduced it in the 67th town hall before. But what I'd like to talk about today, how can we make the remote usability testing and interviewing as effective as it's possible? So empathy is one of the most important part of UX research. So make the participant feel comfortable and show that you are interested in his input. It's really important. Whenever in doubt, ask the user how to pronounce her first name. In-person studies, you can get the user's attention with a gesture or a sound, but if you need to interrupt the participant during a remote session, saying the person's name can feel the most natural. Keep track of what time the session is supposed to end, confirm it with the user at the beginning of the session, and follow it through the session. Accept that things will go wrong and have a backup plan, maybe B and C and a D. Software gets updated at the last minute, firewalls interfere, also apps have bugs, or a lot of things that could happen. So it's good if you have a few plans what you can use for these scenarios. Be available, even for unmoderated studies, be available by email or phone as much as possible to help with any potential user questions. And it's also good if you can recruit more users. No-show rates for any remote study can be higher than for in-person studies. You can also then know the quality of an unmoderated session until you've watched it. So related to specialized usability tasks, we usually use a Usability Hub and Optimal Workshop. Usability Hub specialized in quick unmoderated tests, like this can include first click test, preference test, and 5-second test. You can choose to recreate from either your own panel or Usability Hub's panel. Optimal Workshop can help you design tree tests, card sorts, first click test, and some other tasks. And they can also help you recruit participants for your studies if you want. So for surveys, we prefer SurveyMonkey. Their free product allows you to create surveys and send them out to anyone you want. But SurveyMonkey has some upgraded features that allow you to recruit from their audience. You can easily create surveys, quizzes, and polls for any audience. It automatically analyzes your results, and you can export your results or integrate your data with your favorite apps. Hodger is a great tool for gather specific analytics. Recordings can help you to understand how users behave on your site, where users are going first, where they are facing with issues. Heat maps can show the favorite functionalities and also the cold areas that users can't find or can't use. Funnels can help you understand where users are dropping, and feedbacks could gather you more data about specific topics you'd like to know more about. Last but not least, I'd like to mention our UX process in Figma. Figma can provide a place from the beginning of planning a project until the very end of the design phase. In one of our previous town hall, we already spoke about our processes. So what I'd like to highlight today, why is it good for a distributed team? So as it's easy to invite users to the system, you can gather feedback fast in many ways. Users can leave comments, or users can see and observe each other in Figma. We can speed up the planning process with the available templates. We can integrate or iterate on the wireframes together without thinking about versions. But if needed, we can check the updates or roll back to previous versions, of course. Figma provides the possibility for interactive prototype creation, and it's yeah, it's basically a great tool what we can use for usability testing. It's good that it's cloud-based, therefore it's always up to date, and in the same time it's easy to share with others, as I mentioned it in the beginning of this list. So that's what I like to share for today, and now I like to hand over the place to Jan to speak about remote UI design.
Thank you, Carter. Fantastic. For those wondering, we're going to have the PDF version of this as well, just as Jen takes over. Just those listening, there will be a PDF, and all the links that are noted here will also be available for easy click through. Okay. Over to you, Jen.
Can you see the screen share? Okay. So I will talk about how we work on the user interface design related tasks here at platformOS. First, let's see what are the available tools. In the last years, we have seen many great design tools. Some of the most commonly known is Figma, Sketch, Adobe XD, and the InVision Studio. Thanks to their features, most of these tools improve the online and remote work. For example, you can save your designs as cloud documents to quickly share them with other team members, or you can instantly see if someone is currently working on a document. These tools all have a built-in inspector, so you don't need to upload your designs into another collaboration tool like Zeppelin when you would like to hand them over to the developers. This inspector makes it easy for the developers to get the information they need to turn the pixels into code. It offers an easy way to download assets, extract code information from a specific page element. And although all of these mentioned design tools have this built-in inspector, we prefer Figma, that you can see on the right side, because it is an online browser-based collaborative tool that covers design, prototyping, and an inspector tool all in once. So this means that we don't need other tools. We can use Figma for every part of the UX design and collaboration phase, not just for creating the designs based on the wireframes that were previously also created here, but we can also present and share our work to other team members or to the client. We can hand it over to developers, export the assets, provide feedback. We can versioning our work, and we can create the prototypes here too. So Figma covers all that we need in our workflow. So let's see in details how Figma makes our online collaboration smoother and why platformOS decided to use this tool. So besides the inspector, the code tab that I mentioned before, Figma has two other tabs in the right sidebar. It depends on the user role which one appears. These tabs are the design and the prototype. The design tab is used by the user interface designers. The prototype tab is for UX designers for creating the interactive prototypes, and the code tab is the inspector for the developers. So Figma is a great online tool for all of these. Figma improves the collaboration between designers too. If you would like to create a consistent and up-to-date design, theme libraries can serve as a single source of truth for all designers who work on the project, because they contain the core UI components and the styles. You can share these libraries with the whole team, and after that, they are available to everyone. When the editor of component modifies something, the other designers will get a notification about the update, and they can also refresh the element. Without this, it would be hard to maintain the modifications and notify everyone about the changes, especially when your team members don't sit in the same room, but they are miles away from you. There is another feature that improves the live online collaboration. It's the observation mode. This means that clicking on others' avatar, you will see each movement and change they make. This has a lot of benefits because combined with the call, it works as a screen share. It also makes it easier for others to see the actual state of the project, and it helps to avoid conflicts, as the editors will instantly see if someone is currently working on an element. And this makes sure that they won't edit the same component. We use Figma for collecting the feedback too. You can add your comments right into the given part of the design, which helps to avoid the misunderstanding. Everything is written down and available for team members. You can see the previous and the resolved comments, the descriptions and explanations. And of course, it makes it easier to catch up if you jump later into a project. This feature also saves time, as you don't necessarily need to wait until the next call to discuss the changes. The users can provide their feedback anytime. And this comes in handy in distributed companies where team members might work in different time zones. Versioning is also a must-have if you would like to follow the life of a project from start to end, from wireframes to high-fidelity designs or prototypes. In Figma, all your work is auto-saved, so you don't need to send the saved and version files separately to your colleagues at the end of the day. If they log in, they will see the most recent version for sure. Finally, why we love Figma for online remote work is that it is browser-based. It doesn't need to be installed. You can simply open it in a web browser and see live if someone is working on the project currently. And it also allows Windows and even Linux users to have a very polished, great design tool. And finally, you can find some download links here, and you can install some plugins inside the tool as well. We will add these links to the upcoming status reports, so you can find them later. I also collected some useful links for you that might come in handy for your remote work. First of all, some links of sites where you can download free images. Always download the photos in high resolution, the illustrations or graphics in vector format, so they can be modified or colorized later. And here are some icon collections, packs, and component-based icons for Figma. Here, choose a style, shape, or thickness, fill type that is consistent and fits your brand. And always download the icons in vector format or as an icon font if it is available. And here are some sites where you can download fonts. We prefer the Google fonts as they are free and can be easily embedded into web pages. But of course, if you need a unique font for your brand, you can browse thousands of fonts and purchase them on other sites. Try to choose a well-readable font which has at least a regular and a bold font version, because then you can play with the hierarchy. For example, you can make the titles more prominent. And you can find some related articles and links here. Of course, we will share these in the status report too. And finally, here is a summary of the tools that we mentioned in the presentation, paired with the tasks that we use them for. We hope this presentation gave you some insights into our workflow and tools that you can use in your own remote project. Thanks for your attention.
And thank you for the awesome presentation, Diana, Kata, Jenj, as always, brilliant. We've got people who are commenting that they're going to spend hours and hours being unproductive as they look at all these new productivity tools. Thanks, Ursh. But yeah, really great insights, especially, I guess, for those who have seen the results of what platformOS has been able to deliver. You've all seen the recent new platformOS website, I'm sure. And those of you who haven't, we just went live with it 2 days ago, I think. Awesome work. We've used the entire same process. The remote working tools that have been discussed, we do it for our clients, enterprise clients. We do it with our channel partners on core functionality for platformOS, and the results speak for themselves, including things like getting these sorts of results. I know 5%, five more points and we'll have 100 across the board, but hey, we just launched it 2 days ago. So these are the sorts of tools that we use in our workflow, and it's been something that's been happening for years. And now with the new normal and everything going on with the state of the world and everyone in self-imposed quarantine, it's hopefully useful for you, for your clients and others. So some of the things that we thought we'd also just mention during this sort of time of stress is there's some great education material out there as well for the kids who might be wondering, why is everybody working from home and why am I not going to school and I want to see my friends? This was an amazing little handout that was produced, and the credit goes to the lady who made this, Manuela Molina Cruz. If you're watching, amazing. I've shared this with lots of people, including my family in Australia, who ended up passing it on to their schools and printing it out and giving it as handouts to the kids so that they could understand what's going on in this time. Of course, this is like a war against an unseen enemy, and we are going to get it through it. And for us in the sort of work that we do as technologists, building websites, working remotely, it's a huge opportunity as much as it has been a massive downturn for so many businesses. So I think we need to count our blessings in regards to that and help to support those who are really trying to adjust to the new normal. So hopefully some of this information's been useful. I'd like to just open it up to some questions and feedback. And I know we have a number of different agencies and teams on the call. If you'd like to share some of the experiences that you've had, not looking at anybody in particular. And also, if you've got your cameras and you'd like to turn them on, please turn them on. We want to do a screen share and sort of get a feel for everybody's environments. I might even walk around my house and show you some of the things going on if we get all the cameras turned on. If we don't, then I'll just have to sit here too.
Daniel's got a great spot for his.
What's that, mate?
Daniel's got a great spot to be working from. Seen a few pictures.
New Zealand, anywhere in New Zealand's beautiful.
Oh, sorry, I mean Daniel De Paz.
Oh, Daniel De Paz. Oh,
yeah.
right, yes.
Martinique, not in New Zealand, the Caribbean.
The Caribbean. Nice. Oh, don't know how you're coping. Ursh, you're amongst family here, and we're only going to share this on LinkedIn, so there's not many people who are going to see this. Luke, did you have any thoughts on how your team is now working in this remote approach?
Yeah, and it sort of raised a question for you guys, really. But yeah, we've adapted pretty well. I guess we all worked from home, or some of us worked from home a little bit anyway. And yeah, it's gone really smoothly. And I think things like ClickUp have been huge for us. Having everybody just knowing exactly how to use that already and keeping up to date. We're doing Zoom catch-up calls so that everyone stays in touch, and then obviously Slack is a huge one for us. But I guess the bit I would have been concerned about longer term would be not seeing people for a while, which you guys obviously deal with really well. And I guess that's through, is it mainly through things like Zoom and technology, do you think, that help you sort of deal
Yeah,
with that?
definitely the human connection, just visually like we're doing now, and seeing people's expressions and getting full eye-to-eye contact is really important, of course. And I think you and I mentioned, you mentioned in particular, the importance of sitting down and having a meal together. Well, it's a lot harder now. And of course, we would go and do our twice a year visits, heading over to Poland. We'll be heading to Hungary as well, but getting to Europe in general and meeting our partners and our team members. Virtual dinner parties is taking off. So getting your dinner table set up with a few computers, and I've seen a lot of people do this, having a virtual birthday party, FaceTime, or whatever it is, Duo, that's another free and great product for both Mac and PC and Android and iPhones. Sitting back and just having friends and family over for dinner. That's, yeah, Netflix parties. Everybody's watching the same show. You've got your Zoom camera going, but it is so important to have the connection like this. Mental health wise, being cooped up in one place, even though we are doing it involuntarily all the time normally, knowing that we can just go out and we do periodically, but when you're kind of, now it's almost mandated that you stay at home, it plays on the brain. We've just got a link from Hugo with the Netflix party. There was another service, I think it went out of business. It was Rabbit TV or something, and you could stream anything and watch it and comment, and that was cool too. I'd watch a show with my little kid doing that. But that's a good link. We'll share that one. Thanks, Hugo. What about others? How's everybody going in general? Getting used to it all, and I'm sure that business is impacted. Some clients say, "Hey, hold off! I can't do this project right now." Others are saying, "Hey, I've got this marketplace for a healthcare idea, and I've got funding from the government for it." What are you finding? Any thoughts?
Let me say, for my part, but it's just a small place. I have a very small company, but most of the people haven't stopped what we were doing for them, but they're working day to day because of the law. They have to open, they should close. They don't know too much how they work. So it's really a day-to-day planification, no planification, I would say. And but people are keep going and working. So I hope that everything will come. What we have in Martinique is that we part of France, but very far from France. And France is starting really to get in the COVID. We're still back. So as they apply the same rule here, I think we will be more protected. So people are waiting to see, but the people who can work, keep working. And a lot of delivery business starting and stuff like that. So we're still there.
Mm. Yep. There's opportunities, and there's also a lot of people put out by it, of course. Ursh has just made a note that some of her clients are suddenly onto it, urgently requiring an update to their site. They're in the medical business as it happens. So certainly there's a shift and a pivot for some people to move to those clients that need immediate attention and are doubling down on their business activities. There's so many online services now, and as a cohort of web professionals, we're probably seeing a little bit of a wave, but definitely the trajectory is certainly up. We will all get through this like we did in the recession of 2008, 2009, 2010 with the global financial crisis. Prior to that, the dot-com bubble bursting in 2000 or around then. I don't know if some of you went through that. Prior to that, there was another, yeah, Luke was, I think he was just finishing year 11 then. I'm showing my age, sorry. But definitely we will get through this, and being able to share our experience and connect like this is a great part of the staying sane, keeping hope and supporting each other. So any other thoughts on things that you've been doing to stay safe and on top of things while you're thinking? There's some, while you're thinking about that, there's some initiatives that the US government are providing for its small business. The US Small Business Administration are doing disaster loans based on the COVID crisis to help people out. So if you're a US-based company watching the video, disasterloan.sba.gov, another great resource for small businesses. And I know that there's also been some mortgage and rent forgiveness for a period of time, and other countries are looking at the same, along with a deferment of student loans, a deferment of tax payments and other things. And it obviously is different from country to country, depending on when you are, but there's always probably some programs that your government or jurisdiction is looking to do to help you as a small business get through the coming months. So feel free to share any of that with the team in the chat. Any final thoughts or feedback? It was a great presentation, as always. We always love it when the A team are on. No? Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining and being part of this. Of course, thanks to our amazing presenters who put a lot of time and effort into the presentation, thinking carefully about the process. They do put a lot of time and effort into it. And in fact, it's quite late in their part of the world right now. So they're staying up late away from their families and friends more than ever right now. So thanks, Diana, Jenj, Kata, and awesome work again, as always. We can't wait to put the recording up and all the resources. We will see you at the next town hall, and can't wait to also launch some of the new pages on our new website, which will showcase quite a few of you channel partners on there as well. So looking forward to more improvements there. All right, thanks everyone. Stay healthy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.